this. If you want to click got it, which I think is the most hilarious acceptance button I've ever seen. Got it. Like, not accept, not good, got it. Anyway, hi, good Tuesday. That's an actual holiday. Happy Tuesday to everybody on this call. This is our first actual kind of learning module session of Career Lab Summer 2021. And we have Lisa Smith with us, who is an engineering manager at Netflix now, right? And director, do you still?
I am still a director for Womenhood Code.
Amazing. I won't like butcher an intro because I hadn't.
No, that's okay.
I want you all to know that Lisa has been a personal hero and inspiration to me since the minute I learned who she was. And when she came to help us out at Collab Lab, I physically swooned about it. So anytime I can get her to come present to us, be involved with us, it's my favorite thing ever. This is a session that you put together a while back for some other organization, right?
No, this is a Collab Lab exclusive.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
A Collab Lab original. Like a Netflix original, a Collab Lab original.
Yes. Yeah, apparently we're not saying that anymore. We just got some press about that. It's just going to be a Netflix series or a Netflix show.
Well, this is a part of the Collab Lab series. So welcome. I will turn it over to Lisa, who's amazing, and I love you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's recorded for anybody who's not here. Let all your other Career Lab friends know so they can learn more about how to tell their story too.
Yes. Okay. Oh, this is so exciting. Thank you so much for having me. I'm hopeful that I can, live up to the excitement here. Do you have to give me something special so I can share?
Probably. Let's see. Share screen. All right, go ahead.
There it is. Yay. Okay. So we're going to do this one right here. Share. Okay. All right. Can you see?
Yes.
My lovely slides. Cool. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much for being here at all your various times of day. It's so good to hang out. Have I been working with Career Lab or Collab Lab now for
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. So this is exciting. And Career Lab is my favorite place. This is where I like to spend my time and energy. I'm also a career mentor for a code school and a local code school. And that's kind of why I do Women Who Code as well as sort of career help mentorships. This is right up my alley. So here. So this is me. I'm not only a hiring manager, but I've had a zillion jobs. So I've been on both sides of this lovely equation lots of times. So I'm happy to give you advice from both a seeking and a finding perspective. I'm on our local Collab Lab Slack at Lisa. If you have any questions after this, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to chat anytime. I'm also I'm a director for our Women Who Code. I'm an advisor for a tech diversity firm called Strategio. I'm an career advisor for Parsity, an online code school. I think that's everything. I'm currently an engineering manager at Netflix, and I have a ton of open positions. So I'm actively hiring right now at the moment. They are more senior positions. That's kind of what we do at Netflix. I don't have the setup on my team yet to hire early career developers, but I am working on it. We have a whole new early career initiatives at Netflix that we're trying to get off the ground. So I'm working very closely with our folks on that team. It's kind of a combination of people that came from our internships organization team, as well as diversity recruiting. So we're working on things now. So maybe we can work together someday. So why are we here today? We're going to learn how to use storytelling as a tool to get the job that we want. So your portfolio and professional persona are not just the things that you put on your resume. You have a whole story. Let's tell a good story and tell people compelling things about why they want to work with you. Everybody has a resume, but your story is yours uniquely. So stories are the most powerful form of human communication, and we're gonna leverage that to get you awesome new jobs. It's a weird. Okay. Zoom's got like an animated thing going on now. That was very weird. But okay, here we go. So, what's a job? And I promise this isn't a trick question. A job, or at least a job as represented by a job posting that a hiring manager put, is a problem or an opportunity to which you are the solution. So I have a need. Right now I have a great need. I have 5 open positions and 3 more headcount in Q1 of next year, because Netflix, as you might imagine, is growing. I work in internal tools, so we have to scale along with the rest of the company. It's really important that we make sure that we have the staff that we need on our side to make sure that our stunning colleagues can do the work that they need to do as well. So we're going to use stories to demonstrate how you are the solution to my problem or opportunity. And now I know job announcements are frequently written with really like mile-long laundry lists of characteristics that no single human could embody. I go and talk to companies about stopping that kind of nonsense. But in the meantime, if you see a job that appeals to you on any level, apply for it. Apply for all the things. I know there's your time to be taken into consideration, but the level of effort, once you've gotten a good storytelling scenario down, the level of effort is pretty low. So apply for everything. What's the worst that can happen? You don't hear back from them? That's what happens. But the chance that you will strike the fancy of a hiring manager is pretty good, but not unless you apply. So go ahead and apply for all the things. And I'll keep on working on fixing the ridiculous lists on the other side. It's a shame, because honestly, when an employer is looking for somebody, they're not looking for this list of things. They're looking for qualities. And so that's what I try to emphasize during my hiring, but also it's a thing that you can emphasize during your storytelling, because that's really what an employer is looking for. Like, sure, I would love if you had experience in Node.js and React and can build applications from end to end at a really high level. Those are all great things. But as somebody who's been through code school and been through probably a career switch, or at least a career augmentation, you have a learning mindset. That's great. You have an energy and enthusiasm that I want on my team. Those are also great things. So the laundry list, if you can pick and choose things out of there, great, but tell me about you. And that's what really matters. And if you have questions along the way, please feel free to throw them in chat, and Stacy, flag me if anything happens. We don't have to be super formal here about this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to construct a toolbox that you're going to be able to carry around with you and use when you're applying for jobs. And that toolbox has got a number of pieces in it. So first, it's your resume and cover letter. So your resume is a thing that I know that y'all are working on, and we have a resume review as part of this career lab, right? So your resume, tips from a hiring manager. Think billboard, not novel. You need to be able to grab my attention quickly. So it should be visually pleasing, not too overly complicated. I know there's a trend now that has like graphs and charts and stuff in it. Only if you're trying to get a job as a graphic designer, I would say put the charts in there, or you're breaking down a really significant business problem. But there are people who have some odd assemblages of pie charts that show their skills, and I don't know that necessarily translates, but use whatever device works for you. Visually compelling, not too long. I don't feel like there has to be that hardcore prohibition of like, it can't be more than a page, but hit me with the important stuff up top. So you can group your resume either chronologically, which is a fairly traditional way of doing it, or functionally. Functionally helps gather items together that are like and put them together regardless of where you did it, which helps cover if you've had a nonlinear career path. And I've had a nonlinear career path, so that's not problematic, but like it helps you show that you've had a wealth of experience in certain areas, even if it was collected across a number of jobs. Because every job description is a problem set. Try to highlight those places in your resume that speak to that. So if you see in a resume, if you see in a job announcement, there's a bunch of things that are listed, make sure that you have corresponding analogous things either in your resume or cover letter that'll get picked up by the keyword parsers, because that's what everybody uses now. When you upload your resume, there's going to be a keyword parser that pulls things out and highlights those for the hiring manager. Also, it's going to you can also use those assembled resumes from LinkedIn, but those are also the same thing. There's going to be keywords in there that are going to pop out. So try to match those things as close as you can. Because if I say I need someone with Node experience and you have Node on your resume, those things match. Yay, we're a match. So you only have a few minutes to grab my attention, probably less than 2. As I scroll through my hiring software, it's sort of a big chain and I just click next and I see the thing. So think of it as definitely that billboard type situation. You've got between 30 and 60 seconds to grab a hiring manager's attention, which I know sounds sort of bleak and dismal, but is the reality with our highly automated processes that we all use. On your resume, please don't just include a link to your GitHub repo without any context. If you're going to include that link, and that's entirely up to you, tell me why. Why do I care? Either tell me there in your resume or in your cover letter, tell me a story about why you've included this repo. Tell me what problem you're trying to solve. Why did you take on this project? What technologies did you use? What technologies did you choose not to use? Like, I chose this over this for these reasons. Tell me what problems you encountered along the way. What did you learn? I picked up this library because it offered me these things out of the box and that was useful to get me up quicker. Whatever. Tell me a story about why that repo is there, because I'm not just going to go spelunking through your repo looking for gems. I'm going to need to have that shown to me, again, because of the limited amount of time I have. I might not even look at your repo if you tell me a compelling story about the projects that are in there. But if you have something that you're particularly proud of, make sure to emphasize it and tell me why. On your resume, include dates or don't. Totally up to you. I don't include dates because I am an old, so I choose to leave them off. That's also handy if you're a recent graduate of a program. Recruiters will frequently be like, you have to. You don't have to do anything. There's no law that says you have to include dates. You have free will. You get to choose what you put on there. It's all yours. Dates can show a tenure, like a long tenure at a place or doing a thing. That's great. But sometimes if you have concurrent or overlapping jobs, like I do, I've been a director of women who code for 5 years now, but I've also had other jobs, and it tends to confuse the resume parsers a great deal if you have the same kind of dates that overlap. And I had one recruiter who was like, why have you had so many jobs? I'm like, look at them. They're all still like, they all still at the same time. They're not like one right after the other, which is also fine. Look, you take something from every job and bring it to the next one, even if it's, I never want to do this again. So the amount of time you spend in a job is not necessarily a problem. But you can certainly, like, if you were asked that question, be prepared to be like, I left this position because this one offered me a greater opportunity. I left this position because I was looking for something more shaped like this. You don't have to trash a previous employer to explain why you exited. You were looking for something else that the company you were at didn't have, and that's fine. Okay, so cover letters. People have feelings about cover letters. They are not a requirement. I know at Zapier, we used to ask, we still ask groups of questions because we kind of want to prompt you into telling us your story. We'd rather have those questions answered than to have a cover letter necessarily, but you can also include the cover letter that has those ready-made answers to the questions that you know an employer is going to ask. That's always helpful. I always read them when they're included. I had a cover letter that I wrote for a position many years ago. It was after a big and sort of crippling snowstorm here in where I live. Snow is uncommon, and so it tends to shut everything down. So I wrote, and also this was a time when we didn't work remotely. So I wrote in my cover letter, like, I live right near the office, so I'll always be there, even if it snows. I am gluten-free, so I will never steal your bagels or pizza. And I'm only 4'11", so I don't take up very much space. I'm a compact asset here in the office. And many years later, my COO still remembers my cover letter as standing out. So include it or don't, but make it worthwhile. If you're going to do it, don't just make it a recitation of the things that are on your resume. Use it to expand and tell me more about the things that are on your resume. You can't, your resume is going to be the raw materials, it's the bullet points, but your cover letter is where you can tell a little bit more of your story. Okay, so we have resume and cover letter. We have some sort of writing or portfolio or website. So you don't have to stand up your own blog. You can post on Medium. You can make posts on LinkedIn. You can write on any number of, I don't want to say guest blogs, but you can write kind of anywhere. You don't have to stand up your own site just to do that. But you can have a portfolio, make sure that anything in your portfolio is live and representative. Like, I've built a bazillion websites in my life, but many of them have either moved on to another version or don't exist anymore, so I don't include them. But you can also have a website that's like a splash page, and I'll show you mine on the next slide, but make it something that is current and represents you. So I realized as I was putting together this presentation that I had not updated my personal website to say that I work at Netflix. I've only been there since March. So I fixed that, obviously, before I came to talk to you. So make sure that it's current and it reflects who you are. Again, if you have a website, make it that kind of splash page, something where I can immediately see why I'm here and why I care about it. And then the last bit is your social media presence. Now, number one is going to be LinkedIn, because since we're trying to get a job, that's where that social media happens. Make sure that you have everything on there that you want. And I know we do a LinkedIn review during the part of this program as well, but make sure you have all of your certifications that you've acquired, any sort of endorsements that you have, all of the places that you've worked with, some narrative about what you did while you were there. So don't just have like, I was at this place on these dates. Make sure that there's some more information there that I can see what you did while you were there. Any kind of posts that you put on there, anything you've shared, make sure that they're all representative of who you are today. And that's kind of the theme for your social media. So like the next most important thing would be Twitter. Employers will frequently look for you on Twitter. Make sure that there's nothing on there that is from, like I've been on Twitter since 2008. So I try to keep mine as up to date as possible. I delete things that are no longer relevant. But I mostly retweet and share things from other people. I'm not a big, tweeter of things. But whatever you do have on there, make sure that you are okay with it, because people are going to go back and look at it. Insta, if it's relevant, depending on the kind of job you're getting and depending on the things you have on your Instagram. And then anything that has your professional presence in it, like GitHub or Stack Overflow, if you've answered questions, any open source projects you've worked on. But again, make sure that that's a complete thing that's living, that people can see what it is, that your README is up to date, that it represents, the work that you did on that project or something that you're proud of. So here's my website. It's a splash page, really. It's a single screen. It works responsibly. It's a headless CMS that I was experimenting many years ago with. So it's super fun. It's all like markdown files and some YAML. So super fun. And so it's just a link to all the places that I'm associated with and how to get in touch with me. And a picture that one of my coworkers took a number of years ago, because he said I looked like a spy when I came to work that day. So I don't tend to love pictures of myself, but this one, that was pretty cool. So make your splash page at a very minimum. How do I get in touch with you? And what have you done? Why, again, mostly these things should answer the question, why do I care? What does this tell me about you? So put some relevant information on there if that's your jam. All right, so now that we have our tools and our raw materials, we're going to talk about some types of storytelling. Basically, storytelling is all about crafting an experience for the other person to be able to get to know more about you. And because you are controlling the narrative, you get to use the words that are the most impactful, and you get to use the method that works the best for you. Now, they all share some similarities. You're going to hear that as we go over them, but they all have a little hook in them that's useful. So the very first one we're going to talk about is the journey. And this is like a classic method of storytelling. Think about your hero's journey or the monomyth, the story of yourself. How did you get to where you are today? What brought you along that path? If you're a career switcher, why did you switch careers? What are some interesting places along the way that led you to where you are today? Are there any things that happened either in your life, professionally or personally, that caused you to do this thing? You don't have to go in like deep into your childhood to find meaning, but you can tell a story about the places that you've been that have led you to where you are today. It shows where you learned and you grew. It shows where you took some risks. I applied for a job writing PHP without ever having written a line of PHP professionally. How did I get there? Like, there was a story behind what it was that attracted me to that job and what I could bring to that. They hired me, despite my not having ever written anything PHP, because I crushed out a good demo site for them, and they said they would teach me everything else, and they did. So I learned on the job there. So it'll show the benefits of taking risks. So here's the journey. The next one we have is the pathway. It's very similar, but you can use themes to tie things together. So this is great for nonlinear career havers like me, where you can show sort of a central theme or idea that runs through your path and return to it to show, like, I took this job because it fell in with this like larger theme of what I was doing. Like my jobs, I was a librarian before I worked in technology, and my goal there was to bring people and information together. And I still do that. So like every job I've had along the way has that sort of as a central theme. I don't know that that's purposeful, but it's a thing that I enjoy doing. I like bringing people to solve problems. I'm an engineer at heart, so I'm always trying a solution for people, and bringing them to the information that they need is typically the first step there. So they're similar. The journey and the pathway are similar, but you can take chronology out of it. And so you can talk about the experiences you had that are similar and bring those things together. And then the last one that we're going to talk about today is the touchstone. Now, the touchstone is more heavily reliant on that central theme. So you can have any kind of chronology you want, any kind of like job experiences you want, but you bring them together and you tell why that this thing is important to you. Perhaps you have, a thing that you're passionate about, something that you really like sharing with people, and you've brought all these experiences together in order to do that. You've assembled different skills and abilities, you've taken different jobs, but this thing here is the most important to you. So you're looking for jobs in that area. It really emphasizes this central theme or passion. Now, you don't just have to use one of these kinds of storytelling at a time. You can combine them all, you can mix them up, you can use some of them in your cover letter, some of them during the interview process. Remember that you're going to have multiple junctures along your path to finding a job to tell your story. So make sure that you have all different kinds of ways of approaching that. You're probably going to, in an interview process, you're probably going to meet anywhere from 3 to 12 people, depending on how many different rounds and how many different panels you have. So be prepared to have some, either tell the same story in a different way, depending on who you're talking to, or have multiple stories. It helps to be old like me, because then you just have a lot of stories naturally, but like everybody has had a lot of experiences in their lives that they can draw upon to be able to use. And so it helps you not answer questions in a monosyllabic way. It helps you, expand on concepts that are important to you that might not be obvious from your resume or cover letter. But storytelling gives you that vehicle that you can communicate the information that takes you from being, a flat piece of paper as a resume into a living, breathing human being who is going to be perfect for this particular job. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story so that you can have an example of a way that it works for you. So like I've mentioned before, I have a nonlinear career path. I consider that to be a feature, not a bug. Software engineering is all about making sure that you have empathy for your user, and the more different kinds of experiences you have and the more different kinds of places that you work, you can bring those things to bear. So it's especially helpful to me. Like, I love having people who are career switchers because they've seen life from a different perspective. They haven't just moved through. Now, I greatly admire the passion of people who have had a laser focus on their career goals from childhood. I never really was able to do that. So I don't get to share that story. So I, many years ago, was looking for a job and found a position at a local company that does digital print on demand. And they were looking for a React engineer with 3 to 5 years of experience. And like I said, this was a number of years ago, where React was at the time about 3 years old. So there really weren't a lot of engineers with 3 to 5 years of React, except for those who were still working at Facebook, none of whom were going to move to suburban North Carolina for the small amount of money that this company was offering. But during my interview process, I said, if I were to show you an adoption and abandonment chart of JavaScript frameworks over the years, it looks like the Himalayas. Every 2 years, something new and exciting comes out, and then it goes away. And we either don't use it anymore or we use it in a different form. So in 2 years, when this isn't the hot thing anymore, do you want somebody who only knows React, or do you want somebody with a proven track record of language acquisition because of all these jobs I've had? And they bought that and they hired me. So I learned React on the job. And that's an important thing to remember, is that no matter where you go, no matter how much experience you have, you're always going to have to learn how to do it how they do it. So I hire engineers at a very senior level, but they still have to come in and learn Netflix paved path. They have to learn how we deploy, how we test, how we write code, if we have any, internal standards. Because I work on internal tools, you have to learn all of our stakeholders and what's important to them. So there's like a lot of learning that you're going to do no matter how many years of experience you have. So emphasize that about yourself. Like, I took it upon myself to learn this thing because that was super important. Also, software engineering is all about a learning journey forever. Like, we're not using the same things we used last year, even. You're never going to use the same thing in the same way. You're going to build on that. You're going to use whatever the most recent framework is, the most recent version of it is. There's always going to be an upgrade or a change. So you're always going to have to learn. So lean into that, how you've learned things throughout your career. And that will definitely serve you. So the next thing I have is a little bit of a breakout exercise. So I have a storytelling worksheet. I can put it in the chat. It is.
I also want to note that I thought this was on a paid account and it's giving me 8 minutes left. So I'm trying to look to see how to upgrade.
Okay. So, so here's the thing. This is a thing, like the worksheet is a thing that can be done like whenever. We don't have to do it here. So what we could do is, if you would like, we can just go to questions and people can work on the storytelling worksheet outside. And then if people can just ask me questions if we run out of time afterward. Does that work?
Okay. That works. Yeah. So we'll do some Q&A here. And then if you have questions outside of this, when this meeting cuts us off, just ask Lisa the questions in that Slack channel.
Yep.
Cool.
Perfect.
I love that.
Awesome. Okay, great. So that said, this was the last thing we were going to do, the breakout and then questions. So we just go to questions. So does anybody have anything that they would like to ask about the wonderful things we've just discussed?
Isa.
I'm curious, do you think that short summary should have space on a resume? for folks who have a nonlinear experience, I guess.
So you're like the thing at the top, like what I want to be or whatever. I find those to be of varying utility depending on whether or not you make them contentful. I actually was going through resumes the other night and I read one out loud to my husband and I was like, I literally understand every single one of these words individually, but together they impart no actual meaning. It was like buzzwords about like, I'm like, motivated and I want to, so like, if you're going to put a summary statement on there, make it something that has content and not just a list of buzzwords that sound great. Remember, you only have a limited amount of space to impress upon me what you want to do. So if you find that statement impactful, do it. Like, I switched careers and I want to develop software because these passionate reasons. Great, say that. If it's like, I'm highly motivated individual who likes to learn things, probably going to get that regardless of that statement at the top. So make it mean something and then include it. Otherwise, use the real estate for something else.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I need to go back and write that one down because it was so stunningly contentless. I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is like 75 words to say literally I exist as a human. So don't do that.
So I have a question. Usually I'm the type and when I review like resumes and cover letters, I'm usually the type where I'm like, if I see something that's pretty like generic in a way where they're kind of like, say, using that same template all over the place, then I kind of ignore it. So what do you think about, and usually when I did my cover letters, it was always focused on that job. So if they needed React and SAS and PHP, I would kind of highlight that in my cover letter.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. So like, if you're going to include a cover letter, do not make it like the cover letter that you've used for 35 other jobs. Make it specific to that job because that's the leverage that you have there. Why I'm right for this specific job here, not any job anywhere, right? So, and you're right. Like when I see the same resume template over and over and over again, I'm not going to dock people, but I'm also going to be like, you could have maybe, like there's like a bazillion resume templates out there. You can find something. I actually got from a code school that will remain unnamed, a stack of 35 resumes for a job. They were literally identical except for everybody's names. And I was like, maybe friends, branch out. There's got to be more than one template out there. So also the person who had sent them to me had not listened to my brief about what I was looking for and just sent me 35 random humans who had literally no qualifications for the thing I was hiring for. I was like, I told you that I was looking for code school grads, but like they have to have, something it's going to do on this job. So try to, like, templates are fine. And honestly, like as a software engineer, whom among us has not like looked for a framework or something to use to hang your hat on? So like definitely use something that helps you get moving, but then make sure that you've added enough personalization and definitely tailor your cover letter to that specific job, not just like, hey, again, I'm a human who exists and who is looking for a job. Because again, aren't we all? Always. So.
I actually have a quick question about that. Hopefully it's not too off topic. I was just thinking about it today. When it comes to like your experience, like I've always been taught, I mean, in college, so that was a long time ago, that like, you say what experience you have and then kind of put it, all the things that you did in bullet points. Like you as a reader of resumes, do you enjoy someone that lists everything in like bullet points or more like kind of just like a succinct general summary of what you did in like one sentence,
So they're both great and they both have utility. Like a bullet point is easy for me as a hiring manager to like scan through and see all the things, but a statement about like how you use those things to bring value to the company, because honestly, every employee is an asset, right? Like it sounds real, very like dehumanizing, but like you're there for a reason. So did you add value? Did you make something go faster? Did you make something move smoother? Did you help somebody do their job in a better way? So like any tangible benefit you can bring if you can't say that in a bullet point, definitely say a sentence about how like I use all these technologies to, like triple our ad revenue, or, bring us from page 6 to page 1 in search results, or like something that the work that you did materialized in a finished product. But bullet points are totally fine, because like, again, the resume parsing software is going to be super excited about bullet points. They're going to be like, oh, look, check, 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 check. It's super easy to read. So like whatever works for you but just whatever you do, make sure that it's consistent. Like don't have bullet points for this job and then a paragraph for this job. And then, like a 3-word phrase for this job. Like do make sure that there's a parallelism between all the things that you list, so that it has a flow and a structure that is worthwhile. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure. Awesome. Are we like, I forget what our time is. Isn't it 40 minutes?
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
1 minute and 30 seconds left, friend. It's so exciting. Okay, so I'm gonna drop the worksheet into the Slack channel so that y'all can work on that. And it's great to do it with a friend, because sometimes you can tell them your story and they can take notes, because frequently we tell crappy stories about ourselves, like in our own head. But if you say it out loud to somebody else, you can work your way through it. So if you can find a partner to do that with, great. If not, like write some things down and bounce it off people, and ask me any questions. Also, I'll drop my Calendly link in there if you want to set up some time to talk with me, or if you want to go over your resume, happy to do that as well. I'm here for all of it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. As always, the session is wildly inspiring. And I think every time we go through this, I'm like, oh man, I haven't been doing my story any justice. So this time I'm actually going to sit down and go through the motion and do it.
Do it.
Do the thing.
Awesome. Thank you, friends. It was great spending time with you.
All right. Well, I will see you all around at the next Career Lab things. Check the Notion if you're not sure what's next, but I'll keep posting notes in Slack so you can stay on task for things. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.